Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2018 horror anthology film Nightmare Cinema, a film that is directed by a number of directors, one of them being most notably Joe Dante, and it stars a whole array of people who you may well recognise, and most notably out of those is Mickey Rourke and Richard Chamberlain. Now, anthology movies are amongst my favourites in the horror genre. I like found footage, I like anthology movies generally speaking. So I'm always interested in checking out new anthology movies. And this is an anthology film with 5 stories in it. And the first one is called A Thing in the Woods. The second one is called Merare. The third one is Marshate. The fourth one is The Way to Egress, and the fifth one is Dead. And I'll give you a little bit of story on each of them. The first tale is a bit like a Final Girl story with a bit of an otherworldly twist. These young people are out in the woods, they're being chased by we would perceive to be some crazed killer, but there is a bit of a twist that takes place. Now, a very, very enjoyable story, this one. Lots of fun, a nice bit of humour running through it, but also something you might not expect in regards to a nice little, the way they flip it on its head, if you like. So it's not the normal like slasher type movie thing. They do something a little bit different with it, and I quite liked it. The second story was it starred Richard Chamberlain, who was a renowned plastic surgeon who is given the task of performing plastic surgery on a young lady who has got like a pretty bad scar on her face due to a car accident, and she's due to get married, and her fiance offers to pay for her to have plastic surgery if that's what she wants, and she agrees to it. However, this doesn't go according to plan. Some pretty horrific visuals in this one, I have to say, and again, it was a pretty impressive story. The third one was arguably my favourite one. It went a bit batshit crazy, but it was pretty scary in parts, and it was like a religious story. It was set in like this nunnery or religious school, and there's some kind of demonic activity taking place that the head priest has to somehow fight back against, and it was, yeah, there was some pretty scary visuals going on in this, but it does get a bit crazy by the end. I mean, it's there's heads getting lobbed off all over the place by the end, and it was actually quite a fun story, but quite effective at times as well. The fourth story was very Cronenberg-like, and it starred the actress who was in the recent, let me see if I can remember what she's called, I've got it somewhere. She was in the Haunting on Elizabeth Reeser, the Haunting Hill Haunting thing that was on Netflix recently, and I can't get the title in my head, but she's in this, and it was all in black and white, and it was this woman who is kind of losing her mind, and the whole world's decaying around her, and people are mutating as she looks at them. Some really, really effective visuals in this one, and it really did mess with your head a little bit. It was very Cronenberg-like, I have to say, and I quite enjoyed it as well. And the fifth one was called Dead, and it was about a talented young pianist who is attacked. He and his family are attacked after a concert he's just performed in by some lunatic. He ends up in hospital as he gets shot. However, he can now see dead people. Very Sixth Sense vibe to this one, just a bit more horrific, I would say, and a pretty good story. Now, these are all tied together by the Nightmare Cinema, in a sense of Mickey Rourke plays the projectionist in this cinema, so he kind of collects souls, if you like. He's like the crypt keeper, and these random people walk into the cinema, or are they random? And the twist here is they sit down to watch something on the screen, and they actually end up watching themselves. So the story about the final girl, in the woods being chased by the killer, it's actually her watching herself on screen. So these people walk into the cinema and end up watching themselves on screen, and ultimately the story is all about them, and the ending is never usually a good one for them. And like I said, Mickey Rourke plays the projectionist, and he's there to, you know, collect souls, if you like, or collect stories, or collect films, whichever way you want to look at it. Now, as an anthology film, this, I've got to say, I was pretty damn impressed with it. The anthology films are usually get your strong stories and your weak stories. None of them stood out as being outstandingly good in the sense of one so much better than the other, and there were no weak ones here. They were all of equal quality, and they were all really well made, really interesting visuals, genuinely frightening at times. And you can see when an anthology film, when the budget is upped a little bit and the talent is upped a little bit, this is the result, and we get some pretty effective tales here with some pretty effective performances by actors and actresses that we're fairly familiar with for the most part. And there were no weak stories here. If I had to pick one, my least favourite, I don't know, probably the last one, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. And I wouldn't like to pick a favourite. Genuinely, this is the first time in a long time after watching an anthology film, I can't honestly put a hand on my heart and say there was one so much better than the other. You may watch it and think differently. So I think this was a real surprise for me, because I've seen some pretty damn average anthology films of late over the last couple of years, and this is the best one I've seen for a couple of years for sure. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. A very, very enjoyable anthology film, some pretty effective visuals, some great stories, great directing, and some interesting acting going on. So it is definitely worth watching if you like horror films, and especially if you like anthology films. So I would suggest you give it a go, because it's not half bad at all. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the review, and of course I will see you next time on Screen Stars.